Hi everyone, and welcome to the Monday meeting. This week again, I am at home, and following on from the hot, lovely weather that we had over the weekend, that I was able to enjoy a little bit. Ash has decided to take a trip somewhere else this week, and so this week, Ash is joining us from.
This is what Bristol looks like now. It's quite warm. Global warming has hit and wasn't as bad as we all thought it was going to be. So
It's actually pretty luscious, I'd say.
yeah,
Pretty nice.
old market's changed. It's just because it was hot on the weekend, and I ended up getting a bit of a tan. I go pink first, as many people will know, and still disagree in that's the best way to tan.
I feel like the Zoom filter is doing you wonders at the moment, though.
But it's working. I mean, I could turn it
smoothing you out.
But yeah, I look like I'm overdressed for the beach, but no one wants topless Ash on.
No, I requested that you stay with clothes on.
HR problems with that. So
yeah, please don't.
So yeah, I'm gonna go off now. There we go.
Yeah.
Boom. Right. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, it was hot.
Yeah. I mean, I really hope everyone enjoys this new approach to starting off our meetings. It's the only way I find.
So lame.
It's so lame, but it's a small level of enjoyment that I can bring into these at the moment. So if it puts your smile on your face, and it's worth doing. But yeah, so hot weekend. Did you do, apart from get burned, did you do anything at the weekend?
I got tan.
Really? Got tan. That's okay.
There's a difference.
Defensive.
I got burned for 24 hours, and then the 24 hours afterwards, the process of tanning started. So that was cool. But then, yeah, normal stuff. Ate a lot. Drank a bit. Went for a run. I don't know, a couple of family and friend Zooms, and then actually, in line with the sun, it was like I get bored really easily. As people that know me know, I've probably got a short attention span. So my ambition to start reading more just hasn't kicked off generally.
That was one of your New Year's resolutions.
I know, we're halfway through. Yeah. It's my half-year resolution. So I started reading, and I thought, okay, what's the best way to start reading? So I was like, I've tried to get lots of different books, and that hasn't worked because they're really scary and chunky. So I got a little magazine to start with, which is New Scientist, because I'm a nerd, and I really like it. It's super expensive for the size of it, but like this one was about the consciousness of the universe, and I basically read it back to front, and it's super interesting. So, and then I found out that there is a job that I definitely want after.
I think I know what you're going to refer to here.
Space archeologist. That
does sound amazing.
Job. You get to study. I mean, this sounds a little bit more boring, but you can study orbital robots. Cool, but then you can also study the Velcro, which, for people that don't know, was invented because of the space program. To allow you to stick things to the wall so they don't float off, which is why we now have Velcro on our shoes. So yeah, so that has then encouraged me to read
gateway. Okay.
Which is, I'm doing the whole thing that you suggested at the start of the year, which was balancing the authors of books as well as the topics. So this one is written by Emily Chang. I need to mirror this.
That was on my read. No, you can see it, so you don't need to mirror it. You can read it. It's correct. Yeah, no.
Emily Chang, and it says Brotopia.
That's on the reading list. That was one of the ones I wanted to read from the start of the year too. It's meant to be really good.
It's hot start already. I already feel like pretty terrible on behalf of all men for women in tech. So that's getting pretty deep, but it's also work-based, but it's kind of narrative work-based, so it's an easy in. And then I'm continuing with The Wall, which is like a dystopian novel by John Lanchester, and it's scarily apt. It's basically like, if I don't know, it's like if, who's the director of the Transformers movie? It's like Michael Scott, isn't it? Michael something. Michael Scott's the guy from the it's like an extreme dystopian version of Brexit, basically. And I don't know when he
is this the book about the wall around the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've not read that, but I know people that have.
I'm reading it, and it's like, I'm just like, oh man, this is weird, because I don't know whether he wrote it with that in mind. I can't find it.
No. I think it's older than that.
But it's like weirdly prophetic. Is that a
Mm.
word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Strange.
that's
So
interesting.
reading is happening.
Nice. Yeah. And
So
like,
really.
it takes time to kind of like get into the habit of focusing when you read, but I feel like once you do, it's a very transferable skill. If you can focus more on a book, then you can focus more on other things too. So it would be useful for you. Actually, I didn't think I was going to do show and tell this week, but now you've shown your book, I feel like I should show mine.
Okay, what book are you
Yeah, well, I'm in a constant state of reading at the moment, and I've read not way too many, but an impressive number of books over the past few weeks, I would say, even if I say so myself. And at the moment, I am reading Wild Swans.
That is
through
massive book. Hold that sideways.
Yeah, it's like 600. It's like 700 pages, I think, by Jung Chang. It's very, very cool. It like the coolest. So there's a couple of things about books that really get me, and this one got me from the start purely because of these two things. So one, there is a family tree in the front of the book.
Wow, okay.
Winning, love family trees.
I'm going to assume there's a map of some kind.
You would assume correctly. Because there is also, wait, a map.
There's a map.
Yeah, of China, but it's kind of set from China at the time that the book is set. Which is kind of like early 20th century China. And it just follows the kind of 3 generations of women growing up and living their lives in China. It was recommended to me, and it's a very like famous book. And yeah, I just thought I'd give it a read and change up what I was currently reading. So yeah, so that's my book.
Going on. And then on the just before we move on to the creative aspect of your paintings, I want to see an update.
Oh no, I'm not showing an update of the paintings. I don't think I've done a bit, but I don't know if I've done enough to warrant an update.
Oh, I've got to show people the plant because they live.
You can show the plant. You can show the plant.
But before I get onto that, I was just going to say I also finished Disney Imagineering documentary last week, and honestly, last episode blew my mind. Like, there's not many things on TV now that make my jaw literally drop. Like when people say my jaw drops, like, did it though? Did it really? Mine literally did. I was sat there for, I would assume, 3 minutes, just sat there like speechless. Because
I'm intrigued. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I don't want to. There's like a balance here. Spoiler alert! But at the end, they show you some stuff that they're working on, and especially you, for the reasons of the subject matter. And I won't give any more away. You have to watch it. It's insane. It's just insane. Watch it, see the end, and then come back to me next week, and then we'll have a chat about it. But yeah, really fascinating. Anyway, quickly before we move on to startup stuff and actual work things, here's the update on the plan. It's going well, basically. See? Look.
Oh, yeah, they're growing a lot each week. Every week I think
a forest going on.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
There's also water in this, so I'll try not to tip it.
Oh yeah, be careful! Don't tip it. Don't tip it on your laptop, because that really would not be what you need right now.
Really not so many water-based laptop events.
Yeah, no, there's only so many things you can take.
I don't know when they're fully grown though. So the thing is, like the light that you would have seen on top. That's my kitchen. Welcome. And the light you would have seen on top is like it's extended, and then there's another extension you can put on top of that. I'm like, how big does basil really get? So I'm gonna have to Google that.
You'll find out. But you start trimming it off, and then they'll grow up new sprout. They're like shoots and stuff. So
I want to put other stuff in because I don't really eat basil. So
there you go.
So much pasta sauce you can make, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So that's life. That's
nice.
life.
That is life.
In the world of work.
Before we quickly go on to other work, I will,
for
people that are in any way intrigued, will state that the video game in the background of today's meeting is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Nice.
Which my sister's playing. So we've moved on. We've had Animal Crossing, we've had Mario Kart, and now we've got some Zelda. But yeah, for all the gamers out there, please enjoy this Let's Play in the background.
Very PC games. Like I feel like in a couple of weeks' time we're just gonna have. Like,
this game is scary. It's intense. The one thing I would say about this game is it uses sound incredibly well. Like I never really appreciated how well sound could be used in a game, but it has like sound correlated with different people and different kind of areas and different, I guess, like monsters.
Oh yeah, the music and stuff.
Honestly, it's beautiful and terrifying at the same time, but it just adds another layer to what is already a really like beautiful game. So no wonder it's so well rated. But yes, that is what we've got in the background today. But moving on, because I'm conscious of time.
Let's go.
Yes. So what is your topical thing that's happened in the startup world
In
from
classic style, can't really remember. Let me check what I was going to write about.
I mean, I remember what yours is because you told me
Oh,
beforehand,
yeah,
but
I know what I was going to talk about. Yeah. So, as some people may have seen, not exactly the most fun news, but there are interesting ways of cutting this. Airbnb, and I don't know the exact numbers. I'm gonna try and remember, but I may misremember. Cut a whole load of jobs, and I think in
it was
Airbnb,
25%.
like, yeah, it was like 1,300 jobs.
Mm.
Then Uber cut even more jobs. I think it was somewhere around 3,000 people's jobs, and that's a huge amount of money saved from like a company point of view, but it's a huge loss for a whole ton of people, right? That's their livelihood's gone.
Mm.
And as you know, it was basically going off on Twitter because the founder of Airbnb, I forget his name, Brian Chesky, I think it is, wrote a
Yeah,
letter.
except the founder is the CEO.
CEO, wrote a letter about the whole experience to the people that he had to let go, and across the whole company. And it's like, you expect that to happen from a big company point of view, corporate company point of view, or startup as they might still call themselves, to communicate to the company where we're going, what we're doing, and why this is happening. And as any founder, any CEO, or any MD, or any management team, you never want to make people redundant or fire them or let them go. But obviously the company has to survive, otherwise you have to let everyone go because there are no jobs left. So there's like a lesser evil, I guess, or a greater good to work towards. Anyway, people were like really positive about the letter, and obviously there was this crowd of people that were kind of antagonists for that, saying, well, you can celebrate the letter, but the letter is literally about jobs being cut, companies.
I mean, yeah, I've read the letter myself. I thought it was a very well written letter.
Yeah.
And it was, it was PR'd very well. But I think the problem with something coming out so well written and so not, and being so praised like that, it's going to aggravate other people, which I completely understand. At the same time, I didn't know if it wasn't that it didn't feel genuine, that it did feel like a very well done piece of PR, and which I know is the point. Yeah. But I sat there and I was reading it, and I was like, they were talking about all the things that they were going to be doing for the employees in terms of like making sure they all had, they hadn't actually told people who was being redundant yet. This is the thing. So it was like an announcement saying that it was coming, but no one knew who was actually going yet. They were all like, over the next couple of days, you'll be getting emails to say whether you'll be called to a meeting. It'll probably be a group meeting if there's a lot of you going. Yeah. Wait, so if you read the whole thing. Yeah, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure I remember reading it and thinking, wow, does that mean that they haven't actually told everyone who's leaving that they're going yet? It was more like, this is going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, and there was obviously a great package of support and stuff they're offering. But if I was in that company and no one had been officially told what was happening to their personal job yet, and then suddenly they had to go through the anxiety of knowing they might be one of the people that was losing their jobs, I just felt that it was owed to the employees to be told first. But I guess from Airbnb's perspective, they wanted to get out ahead of the news that would undoubtedly follow if they started making internal redundancies before telling people. It's a difficult trade-off.
Because in a company of that
hard
size,
to handle.
I know companies locally, can't name names, that are of like a formidable size that have had similar circumstances, and they had done a similar thing, albeit not necessarily on purpose, but kind of accidentally, with miscommunication at management level, and people then worrying for all of, I think it was 3 hours after that call, but worrying whether it was them or wasn't them or whatever. And you don't want to put that anxiety on your workforce, especially the ones, obviously the ones that are leaving, certainly, but even the ones that are staying, right? You've lost. It's
awkward. It's really awkward as well.
But I didn't know if I was leaving for 3 hours. So yeah, that's bad. But then even at that size, which is like, I don't know, a tenth, if not 2% of the size of something like Airbnb or Uber, there was still leakages of stories out to certain places, like, as that was happening. And so you think, okay, if you have got 2,000 people you're letting go on average, if you do tell everybody first, then that message isn't going to come across. So I think there's no right or wrong way, I think, is the moral of the story. Is what I wanted to get out of that, really, was that I don't know whether there is a right or wrong way to fire. You never build a company to do that.
No,
Like,
I think definitely there's no right or way to do it, but I completely get the people that were upset about the celebrating of what essentially is a well-written letter. Like,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I, I get that side of it.
The
I really,
argument against that though is that it's like, you know, if for just taking like the opposite view, just for devil's advocate purposes, but if Brian Chesky, if that is the person, has
it
written
is.
that letter, and he's written it, you know, in his office on his own, and he's meant every single word potentially, and has put that out, then we also shouldn't undermine someone for doing something completely genuine and being able to write a very well written piece of communication. So it's just like there's a balance to be struck, which is like, as a company, not like completely probably the wrong thing to do, but as a human trying to do the right thing when you're at the mercy of like all of these other factors, it's a really tough.
Yeah, I guess, but in a way, it's also his job. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just hard, and I think especially for companies like Airbnb and Uber, that obviously a lot of people that are part of the gig economy, their lives are dependent on those, not the jobs, but the trickle down of work that comes from those companies. I think there's not really been much thought to the impact that that's having on, like the Uber drivers and, those kind of people that currently don't have any work, clearly, because Uber themselves are having to cut jobs too.
yeah,
And they're being massively affected. They don't have, you don't have a redundancy package, or you don't have access to furloughing if you're one of those people. So, yeah, I just think it kind of, there's a bigger picture to look at too. But yeah, that is an interesting bit of news. And
yeah, lots going
yeah,
on. I'm sure it won't
there's
be
lots
the
going on.
last either.
No, there'll definitely be more. But important to touch on, I think.
Yeah,
Still.
definitely. You know, I'm sure other people are going through those challenges as well. And I think the important moral of the story to take away is that if you are a director or a founder or an MD of a company right now and you're looking at those challenges yourself, then, it's just kind of morbidly comforting to know that some of the biggest companies in the world that we know still get it wrong and they don't really understand what's going on either. So, it's like you're not alone in these decisions. It'll never be easy. Sometimes you have to do it. And yeah, you have to do as much as you can to help the people that that are leaving the company. But yeah, so quite difficult stuff to talk about, but it's stuff that needs to be talked about anyway, because otherwise we all get to that point where someone has to let someone go at some point in the future. If you build a big enough company, it's almost inevitable, and then you're sat there going, I don't know how to do this, and it's because no one really discussed it beforehand. So it's best just to keep an open communication about it.
Yeah, for sure. So
What about
moving
you?
on.
Have you got topical news
No,
or shout
no,
topical news or
we were discussing this earlier on. Like, topical news at the moment, it's tricky.
or political? That's it.
To
Yeah.
trying to not try and talk about new stuff as well. At the same time, I'm not saying nothing's happened in the world in the past week, 100%. I just mean that I was focused on internal stuff last week, and my radar for things happening in the outside world was clearly not very switched on. So rather than spending loads of time trying to come up with something, I figured we'd just talk more about the next thing, which is
Yes.
around kind of like what I learned last week, and it's something that also relates to you as well.
Yeah.
So last Wednesday, was it Wednesday or was it Tuesday? No, it might have been Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, weird week.
We had our final member board with our cohort that have been with us for the past year. So for those of you who don't know what our member board is, this is a couple of members of our community who make up, who represent kind of different areas in terms of how they engage with us and in terms of what kind of businesses they run. And they have joined our board in order to help us give advice around strategy and kind of what they want to see from Yenna, and insight into kind of what challenges they're facing and how we can potentially help them and people like them who are within our community. So yeah, essentially a board of advisors made up from our members, hence a member board. And we kind of came up with that just over a year ago, and we brought this board together. And they've been with us for a year now, so we've come to the end of that year, and our last session we had on Tuesday. It's a bit different from what we kind of originally planned, because we had been running them in person up to that point, and so that created challenges in and of itself, kind of running this virtual meeting, which is normally a few hours long, but Zoom fatigue is real. You can't have a video call longer than an hour. It's just ridiculous, and no one can focus that long. So trying to condense down what we'd normally do into a short amount of time, and kind of come up with things that are more transferable and engaging for kind of a video call as opposed to in person as well. And yeah, so that was quite a challenge, and we learned a lot from our experience as a board over the past year. To kind of touch on what we did in the meeting, we got all of the 5 people that sit on our board to come up with their ideas for if they were to start Yena again, what would they do? So what kind of business would it be? As long as it had the same mission and was striving to achieve the same impact, what would it do? And that was super interesting for like my perspective. I don't know about you, Ash, but I really, really enjoyed hearing kind of people's different takes. And also like their conceptions of what Yena is, because you learn a lot about what people think about your company based on what they say it should do.
I think
As well, which is interesting.
thing that it kind of like shed light on for me was that it was like the psychology of people and how they're like, it actually clarified a lot about, I don't know whether it's like the mum effect, but like subconscious bias, because we were like, hey, what would you do if you started again? And everybody accidentally, I think, not everybody, there were exceptions, but a lot of the insight was then molded towards what we currently are, or very close to what we're going to be anyway. And obviously what we wanted to do was to avoid unconscious bias and any mum effect by just going, right, forget everything, start again, what would it be? And lo and behold, they came up with what we currently do or what we're going to do. And like, that could be a good thing, because it's like, cool, we're going in the right direction then, but it could also be a danger, because you're like, there's no outside insight there. So yeah, the learning, I think, was stuff that both the board agreed on and we agreed on around, you know, getting some external parties potentially in future and changing it up, but a really, really great foundation for the way that we're going to be doing things in future from a board perspective.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was super insightful. I think also kind of, made me realize how valuable like focus groups can be. And we kind of knew that would be the case. But obviously we've come on quite like a learning journey over the past year in terms of what Yena is to us and what we want it to be in the future, and kind of seeing that happen, and then witnessing that also through the eyes of our like board as well has been really, really cool. So yeah, so it's been like a really good year. And like, we're very grateful for the time that they gave up. It was one session a quarter. It's like an afternoon every 3 months was the kind of time that we asked from people. And yeah, I think we learned a lot in terms of what we're looking for from that kind of group as well in the future. And we're coming up with some ideas around how we plan on having that function in the long run. And yeah, we always want to make sure we've got a forum from which to have the opinions of our members like viewed and like factored into what we're doing. But then there's the flip side of that, where we also need to have people from the outside who aren't caught up in what I think that kind of also was proved in terms of the last piece that we did, that we need to have people from the outside who are completely separate from what we're doing to be able to come in completely unbiased and give perspectives that don't necessarily sit within the community, but still kind of like commit to the impact that we're all trying to have at the same time. So it was really interesting, and there'll be probably some like more announcements over the next couple of months in terms of what we're planning on doing with that kind of in the future, and how that's going to work in the long run, and what we're going to do with that essentially.
And I also think it's worth saying that like other companies can learn from that sort of thing as well. It's bonkers to me that corporates and larger companies or product-based companies don't have committees of their members, users, subscribers, customers, clients together until they call it a feedback group, and then just do it as a one-off and pay people in like gift vouchers to get them into a room and give some feedback on or insight on their experience. It's like, actually, what if they existed on an ongoing basis? You're creating raving fans. Like the board has already said, it was the final session. They've already said, look, keep us posted. We'd love to continue doing this for you if you can. Keep us on the Slack group. And it's, we're not really giving anything for that. They're just really impassioned about the mission and where we're going now and where we want to go. And if we did that every year for 3, 4, 5 years, you've got 10 to 50, depending on how big your board is, people at the end of that period who have been with you the whole way and buy into it. And you've got this extended team that you're not necessarily paying, but they really believe in the mission. So I think, there's lots that big companies can learn there from just buying your customers into your journey and giving you insight on the products and services they want to build.
It was awesome. And like, part of what we're kind of building out separately around like the new bud piece and the consulting stuff we want to do is that people pay more attention to that and pay more attention to what the consumers and the future consumers of their products and brands and stuff actually think and how they work. And this was kind of the us taking our own advice around that in some ways, and actually doing what we think that other brands should be doing and doing it ourselves. So yeah, it's been very cool. And as I said, we're super grateful and thankful. So shout out to our 5 superstar member board people for helping us over the past year. So yeah, that's kind of what I learned for this week. And as you're a part of that too, I guess it kind of figures that's yours as well. So what is your focus for this week?
This week, got a fair bit of admin on, so need to do that. We're going to be doing some planning around financials and business planning, I guess, as far as what the next phase is. Be doing some tiny stuff.
I feel like it might be worth touching on a bit more detail what that is. I think it's better with this thing rather than to go through like a whole list, but to like be more specific. So with that project planning piece, that's essentially what we realize is that in terms of we have an idea of what in terms of like investment thesis around what kind of a certain amount of money could get us, but we also want to make sure we have a breakdown in what smaller chunks could also get us as well along that journey. And so that's part of why we want to come up with this kind of project plan in terms of how much would it cost to do this specific part of the development for the platform side, but also in terms of like salary and staff. And we have vague breakdowns of that, but we want more of a roadmap that kind of fits into how that's going to progress and how it's going to cost over a period of time, right?
For external people as well as ourselves, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You could use it as like you could break it down into a Gantt chart if you want to, but use it as an internal sheet for us to go, okay, here's where we're at, here's where we should be. Use it as milestones and kind of OKRs and so on. So yeah, excited to do that. And then also excited to get back onto a bit of design stuff. As people will have heard in previous sessions, my last MacBook broke and I didn't lose many things thanks to cloud computing and Google Docs and all the things that we use, but did lose some of the UI designs for the platform version of Vienna that we're building. So I got a bit bored on the weekend and threw a couple of I guess screens together, if you want to call them that. But then kind of switched off from it after that. So we'll get back onto those and put some more screens together.
What tool is it? What tool is it that you're using to do that?
So for doing this, the tool I'm using is Sketch. I know a lot of people really like Figma and said that it's better.
And InVision as well is another one that comes up a lot.
Marvel app. There's a bunch of them that do different things in different ways. The reason I'm using Sketch for context is that it feels like Photoshop or Adobe products that I'm used to using, but is easier and far more intuitive than an Adobe product is. And also for premium, which I haven't got yet, because it's like a 30-day trial. It's I think $99 for the year or something. So pretty affordable from a project point of view if you're going to be using it on an ongoing basis. So yeah, using that and then that allows you to turn it into kind of a presentation slide, so I could then play that to you and it becomes
it's very cool.
Really helpful. So using that, those are the main things really, I think. Nice. And then aside from that, the other core piece that's happening this week is plus sessions. So 1 or 2, maybe 3 one-to-one sessions with plus members. For those who don't know what that is, there's a second tier to our membership subscription. Obviously, membership is currently free for 2 months for anybody that needs it, wants to join. Check it out. You just go to joinyenna.com/join, or just joinyenna.com. There's a big button at the top of the page. But the plus membership is a more consultative, more advisory level service. So the way we pitch it is essentially the co-founder you don't have to give equity to. It's someone you can call on when you need help. It's kind of like a non-exec director, if people know what that is, but without being as expensive or convening once a quarter. It's a once a month, one-to-one check-in where we'll talk about all sorts of things. So I'll be doing a couple of those with a couple of members this week. A couple of them are in kind of like product development phases. A couple of them are managing some, I guess, well-being challenges, well-being in isolation. So it's a really broad relationship that we have there. But as I say, it's like having a co-founder that you don't give equity to. So like we're here for having those conversations as you need them. So yeah, looking forward to those too.
Exciting. Nice.
You, what are you up to?
So I feel like I've got a lot of events this week, really.
Mm.
So we've got the virtual meetup panel tomorrow evening or late afternoon, and that's our investor panel where we're going to be getting candid with investors from, or people who work in the investment world, from a couple of different funds, and talking to them about kind of more generalized stuff, so not just all related to the current situation, because there are people in our community that are still thinking about raising or are currently raising or have raised and just want to be able to touch base with those sort of people. So we'll be using that chance to be super candid with them, and also hopefully making it really interactive as well. We're hoping to have some like almost round tables, smaller group discussions that each of the kind of investors will be able to lead themselves, which is going to be really exciting. So that's tomorrow afternoon. And then I've got a lockdown live session on Thursday. So I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on Thursday, I think lunchtime, in the group for members, so that anyone with any questions to do with anything can be asked, and I can try and answer and give some feedback. I feel there's definitely an element of imposter syndrome in me thinking that I'm not knowledgeable enough to do it, but then I'm also conscious that I've sat in on your plus sessions before and been able to still share insight that is relevant. So I just think I need to go for myself.
You've had more interviews on things of being an expert in things.
Yeah, I know.
I have, so
I just feel like I'm just eloquent in bullshit. I think maybe that's more accurate. But I will try and make it super valuable. So hopefully it won't be too bullshitty. But yeah, so that's happening on Thursday. This week is the last week that Liv, our intern, is going to be working with us, which is quite a big thing. She's been with us since February, I think now, the start of Feb. So quite some time. Obviously, we've gone through quite a weird period of time with her working here too. So that's created its own challenges. And she'll be here this week, and we'll be doing like a review session with her, which we'll go into a bit more detail about. I think maybe we'll do like next week, we'll do like part of this can be like a reviewing how we managed our whole intern process. I think that probably makes sense, to give you guys a bit more insight about that. And then the last thing is our perfect intros campaign. So we ran another second round of applications for this that closed on Friday. It's when we essentially introduce members to each other based on the challenges, skills and experiences that they're currently facing. And yeah, so that kind of the deadline for that was Friday, and we used to go through all that and kind of do all that matching process this week and get those people matched like this week / next week, depending on time. Yeah, which is really, really cool, because one of the most exciting parts of like what we do is connecting people. So being able to do that, especially at a time like now, is really rewarding. So yeah, so that's kind of like the three main focuses I'd say I had.
Three main focuses, kind of an oxymoron, but
yeah, it's more because I think it's the event stuff doesn't take up too much time outside of the actual event itself. It's just those are things that are actually happening. The main bits of work will, and this, again with Liv as well, that's kind of more at the time rather than outside of the time, if that makes sense. But the perfect intro stuff is kind of like probably the biggest piece of work that's actually happening this week. So yeah, I'm like looking forward to getting quite a bit done, hopefully. And yeah, I'm happy. But that's me. That's everything
nice.
I've got.
It's a busy week, and yeah, lots of event stuff, and the perfect intros thing is going to be fun too. So yeah, sounds like we've got a lot to get on with. Probably should get on with it. I should probably have lunch, if I'm being honest with you. That's true. But I'm sure I probably will be. Amazing, cool. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of the Monday meeting. Obviously, as the title suggests, we do these every Monday, and usually they're uploaded to watch by Tuesday. So stay tuned for those. If you want to know when they come out every week, then you can just subscribe.
Like and subscribe, yes.
On your YouTube channel, there's a little bell icon that you can click, and you'll get a notification when that next one comes out. And obviously, if you like the video, drop a like, because it does help. And try and comment as well, because all the comments we're getting at the moment are just random bots. So we'd love to see some real.
It's enjoyable, but it is just random bots.
And as in classic traditional style, we've left that bit till the very end. So what I might do this week is maybe preface our video with a big screen that says like and subscribe, because we forgot to say.
Or we might be able to actually put it on YouTube, where we can put a little like because in the YouTube studio they'll have probably easy add-ons where you can overlay a like and subscribe buttons probably on the start of the video. I'll have a look at it, you know.
There.
Oh yeah, just be like
not that pro yet.
Like and
Maybe.
subscribe. But yeah, cool.
Sweet. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and we will see you next Monday.
Okay, bye.